How's it going, everyone? Welcome to another video. So I have pre-ordered the iPhone 15 base model. So in this video I'll take you through 8 reasons why I opted for the base model instead of going with the iPhone 15 Plus or the iPhone 15 Pro or the iPhone 15 Pro Max. So let's get to it. So the first reason why I opted for the iPhone 15 base model has to do with the design and the durability of the phone. Apple refers to the iPhone 15 design as an all-new design, but I like to refer to it as a refreshed and a revamped design. This refreshed design looks and feels more premium with that frosted back or the matte finish back. And that matte finish there is less prone to fingerprints when you compare it to previous base iPhone models, which were all shiny and it was easy for them to catch fingerprints and for you to see all of the spots where you have touched on the phone. The iPhone 15 design also has a slightly rounded edges, which makes it easy to hold and to use. Some people have kept their iPhone 11 because of the rounded edges and how comfortable it was to hold on the hand. So this is now going back to that same type of a design. So if you love the iPhone 11 because of how it felt on your hand, the iPhone 15 is actually even better. And speaking of easy to hold and easy to use, that is why I opted for the 6.1 inch and not the iPhone 15 Plus, which is a 6.7 inch. So it has the same design, but because the 15 Plus is bigger, so I went with the smaller one, which is easier to hold and to use. Although the other advantage of the 15 Plus is the bigger battery and the longer battery life, I thought because I'm getting my iPhone 15 mainly for the channel and mostly for reviewing and stuff like that, I'm likely to upgrade it again sooner. So there is no need for me to get a larger battery that is going to last. And in terms of durability, the iPhone 15 model that seems to have issues is the iPhone 15 Pro and the Pro Max. So if you have seen Jerry Rig Everything's videos, he did durability tests on the iPhone 15 base model and the iPhone 15 Pros. The base model seemed to have done a much better job. He tried to break them, he couldn't, but the iPhone 15 Pro and the Pro Maxes, you might have seen the famous video where he was able to just break them by pushing the back. So it seems like titanium or that titanium glass finish at the back there is more fragile when you compare it to the aluminum and matte finish on the base models. So that's another reason why I opted for the base model. But don't get me wrong, the titanium on the Pro phones looks and feels more premium. It's only the durability of the titanium that is more in question. And if you're wondering why I didn't mention USB-C as part of the refresh design, for me USB-C at the moment is not so much of a big deal because I don't send big files using cable. I always use iCloud or use AirDrop. Even if I was transferring files using cable, the transfer speed on the regular iPhone 15 is kept at USB-C 2 speeds. So it's not going to be an improvement in any way. And you might say, well, one charger for all of your devices. Well, I still have my AirPods that need lightning cable to charge. I still have my Apple Watch that needs a different type of a charging cable. So I'll still carry around more other cables than just the USB-C cable. So for me, it wasn't a deciding factor. Not to say that it's not a great thing that iPhones finally moved to USB-C. I think it is a great thing, but right now I think we are at that transition state. I still have some of my other accessories again that uses lightning. So now I'll have to battle with finding the correct adapters to link and stuff like that. So I think it will be a transition. Now the second reason why I opted for the base model is of course the camera improvements. Now on the camera improvements, there are 4 reasons why I chose the iPhone 15. The first one is obviously the 48 megapixel camera compared to the 12 megapixel camera. So that explains it all. 48 versus 12 megapixel, it's obvious that you would opt for the 48 megapixel. And by the way, the 48 megapixel camera lens was used on the iPhone 14 Pros. So this is a Pro camera lens that is coming now to the iPhone 15 base models. The second thing is new generation portraits. Because of the bigger 48 megapixel lenses, the iPhone 15 now allows more light when you capture images, which will allow you to later edit your photos into portrait mode. iPhone users will know how painful it can be sometimes to take portrait photos, because first you have to remember to select portrait mode. Secondly, you have to be at the proper distance for you to be able to capture the portrait correctly. So between the camera and the object there needs to be, and also the object and the background, there needs to be that proper distance there. So the whole pain of having to adjust to be in the right position, to remember to select portrait, to wait for the yellow light there to shine to show that it will capture the portrait correctly, all of that now has been minimized with this new generation portraits, because all you have to do is just to take the photo. You don't have to select any mode. Then later on you can be able to play around with the depth of the photo and then create a new portrait. You can also play around with the focus as well and decide if you want the focus to be on the object or on the background. This works best obviously when there is people or animals on the photo. The third reason is the 2x telephoto. So the iPhone 15 now has a 2x telephoto, which is basically used from the 48 megapixel lens. So when you look at the iPhone 15, it has only 2 cameras, but this ability to take 2x telephoto pictures is like having a third camera on the phone. So it has 3 lenses capabilities with only 2 lenses. So now on the iPhone 15 you have 3 optical zoom options, starting with 0.5 optical zoom, then 1x optical zoom, and then the 2x optical zoom. This is a huge improvement when you compare to previous base models, because you only had 2 optical zoom options, which was 0.5 and 1x optical zoom. And now the minute you start to adjust it manually, then you will start losing pixels. But now at least you have that 2x optical zoom, which will still keep and maintain the quality on the photo. The fourth feature on the camera is 4K cinematic mode. Now this was already available on the iPhone 14, but I didn't notice that. I thought it was limited to the iPhone 14 Pro. However, now moving from iPhone 13, I'll be able to use now one of my favorite camera features, which is the cinematic mode, which on the 13 was limited to 1080p. Now I'll be able to take cinematic mode in 4K. So those are the first 5 reasons. We have 3 more to go. So I just wanted to remind you that if you're enjoying this video, please give it a thumbs up by clicking the like button. And if you like this type of content and you want to see more content around iPhone 15 in future, be sure to hit subscribe button. Let's continue. So on to reason number 6 and number 7, which are mainly around the display of the iPhone 15. The 6th reason is dynamic island. This is one of the coolest features on the iPhone, and this was introduced on the iPhone 14 Pro and limited to iPhone 14 Pro, but we are now getting it on the base iPhone 15. So this is another reason why I am getting the iPhone 15. The dynamic island is also an addition to the refreshed design and the look of the iPhone 15, because it replaces the old notch. Now the dynamic island is an elastic notch that is going to help you stay in touch with your live activities and notifications. And in addition to the display, the iPhone 15 now has a brighter and a sharper display that can go up to 2000 nits when you are outside. So this is the same type of brightness and sharpness that we have seen on the Pro models. And now on to reason number 8, which has to do with the performance of the iPhone 15. The iPhone 15 is powered by an A16 Bionic chip, which is the same processor that was used on the iPhone 14 Pro and the 14 Pro Max. So this is a Pro-proven processor chip. So this brings all of the power into the base model iPhone, which means that we can expect a more smoother experience overall. Now, of course, the iPhone 15 is not all perfect, and I think its biggest downside, which is what I think most people have been complaining about, is the lack of 120 Hz refresh rate. So the iPhone 15 is capped at 60 Hz refresh rate, but I don't think that it is a deal breaker. If you look at all of the features and all of the upgrades that you'll be getting if you are using a base model, I don't think the lack of 120 Hz should be a deal breaker. And for the average person, it almost doesn't matter that one phone is using 120 and the other one is using 60. It's difficult to see unless if you really are looking for it. I've tried it so many times with two phones side by side, the Pro and non-Pro, to try and see it. I could see it because I was looking for it, but I think on a normal day-to-day, once you are using your phone, I mean, iOS is so optimized and so smooth that you almost don't notice the difference between the two. Of course, if you're using a 120 Hz phone for a long time and then you have to go back to a 60 Hz, you will notice there. But most people have said that after a week or so, they adjust to the 60 Hz and they don't see any difference or feel any lag of sorts. Now, one thing that I've noticed is that there are two groups of people that would complain about the 60 Hz on the iPhone. So the first group is Android users. Obviously, Android users would like to pinpoint anything that is wrong with the iPhone because they don't understand how the iPhone would somewhat seem to be behind on specs but somehow does well on the market. So when they point that out, they're not saying the 60 Hz is bad. They are saying there is no 120 Hz. That's something that you need to pay attention to. The 60 Hz is good. What they are saying is there is no 120 Hz. Now the second group is Apple users that would say, look, we are paying so much money, over 20,000 rands, why don't we have 120 Hz? So they come from a disappointment standpoint, which I think I'm also part of that group, to say, look, if you are paying this much money, why don't we have the 120 Hz? Not to say that the 60 Hz is bad. So that's something that I want you to be aware of, or at least something that I have observed. It's that whole thing of saying, I paid so much money, why don't I have it? But again, like I said, the 60 Hz gets the job done. Actually, I've seen a lot of tech YouTubers that have already started testing the iPhone 15 and they say they were worried that the dynamic island might not do well on the base model because it lacks 120 refresh rate. But it seems the dynamic island is doing well on the base model with the 60 Hz. So in summary, for me, the 60 Hz is not a deal breaker. I looked at all of the new features and all of the upgrades that I'm getting, and I think that base model iPhone 15 is good value for money. So I don't think paying an extra 7,000 rands or so to get the Pro model for the sake of 120 Hz is worth it. So I need to see more features that I need from the Pro models for me to justify why I should pay extra to get the Pro model. But all in all, the base iPhone 15 gets most of the things right, and you can also think of it as an iPhone 14 Pro just without the 120 refresh rate and the physical third lens. But for everything else, you will find most of the features from the iPhone 14 Pro in their base model iPhone 15. But of course, if you have been using the Pro model, perhaps the base model is not for you because you might want that 120 refresh rate. So of course, this is disappointing after paying that much money, but this is not new. Apple have always been doing this. I mean, you look at even the RAM or the cameras again, they always played with lower specs, but they are able to somehow optimize and get better results. So even with the cameras, I mean, we only moved to the 48 megapixel cameras like recently, but you look at the previous phones like iPhone 13 Pro Max and all of those, they've been working with a 12 megapixel camera, but somehow they were able to optimize and get better pictures. Same with the RAM. So this is not a new thing. So there, the refresh rate being lower does not necessarily mean that the results are also going to be poor. And this is also a sales strategy from Apple, because they know that if they bring 120 refresh rate to the regular models, there's a chance that other groups of people won't get the Pro now. They'll be like, screw the Pro, I am going with the base model because it has everything, because the base model is actually good. Maybe the one thing, which for most people they'll say is the deal breaker, it's just lacking maybe the 120 Hz, and that's it. Once you put that in there, then the phone turns into a Pro. So they try to make sure that they limit some of these features to the Pro models so that people can still buy the Pro model. So that's something that you need to understand as well. But like I say, they try to do that without compromising the experience or the qualities on the lower spec phones. So those are all the 8 reasons why I opted for the base model iPhone 15. I should be getting the phone anytime from today. So I'm going to obviously do the unboxing, start the reviews and test everything. If I'm wrong, I'll let you know, and I will exchange the phone and get another one if it does not live up to my expectations. So if you want to see all of the tests, all of the reviews and unboxing and everything, be sure to subscribe and stay tuned to the channel. Be sure to enable that notifications bell, because the content will be coming faster now from now on moving forward. I'll catch you on the next video.